After reading Joey's journal, I picked up the next notebook. The first page had a name, date, and a title. It read, Harry Warner, October 31st, 2009, The Shepherd's Cult. Here's the content of the journal. The date is October 11th, year 2009. I've arrived at the McManus family home at 6:23 p.m. ahead of schedule. My first thoughts when I arrived were, why would anyone want to live here? Then I remembered, no one lives here. No one has lived here for 10 years. Not since the gruesome murders in the summer of '99. The case that drove me insane. The case that made me lose my job, my family. The same case is why I'm here today, and I'm gonna burn this house to the ground. My mother, Mary Warner, maiden name McManus, and my father, Michael Warner, had gotten married in '75, and a year later, out came little Harry. By the time I was 5, my parents and I had lived in a small suburban town. I loved it. Many kids to play with, school was great, and a movie theater right down the street. Life was great, until the year of '87, when sadly, both my grandparents had passed. They were fairly old, and I don't mean to sound so harsh, but to die at the same time is impeccable timing. After all the affairs were sorted out, and we had some time to mourn, my mother had the bright idea to renovate and live in my grandparents' house. Now, I had visited my grandparents fairly often. I didn't particularly enjoy it there. Never did. Never will. However, I enjoyed my grandparents' company. My grandparents, John and Rose, were very kind and caring people, always lending a helping hand to others. It was tragic when they passed. My mother was broken up about it, as was I, but I was hoping the renovation was just a mourning process for my mother. It wasn't. My mother was dead set on living there. I guess she thought it was our duty to keep the home in the family. Fast forward 10 years. I had moved out and was now living in a one-bedroom apartment. I would still visit my parents now and again, but often hated it. I just didn't like the vibe the area gave off, and the legends didn't help. Don't stay up too late or Josiah will get you, my mother always jokingly told me. Josiah was an old legend around town. Stay with me because it gets odd. They said that Josiah was the brother of Moses. Yeah, the Moses. I guess the Bible forgot to mention him. Well, while Moses was off preaching to the Jews, Josiah became angry with his brother for abandoning him. Instead of being visited by God, Josiah was visited by none other than Lucifer. I'm not sure that lines up with the story of the Bible, but that's folklore for you. Anyway, Josiah, like his brother, was given a list of commandments, although these commandments were a bit more sadistic. I can't remember all of them, but some contained, do not shed blood to those who have seen your face. Do not harm those who you call brother. Offer souls to the one who gives you immortality. Wear your disguise with pride. Be the shepherd to non-believers. I don't remember the others. No need to. It was all bullshit. I grew up Catholic, and speaking of these stories were treated as acts of treason. So for the most part, these legends slowly faded out, until October of '97. My best friend Grady, whom I had known for 10 years, was killed in his home. I'll give you the need-to-know details. First, nothing was stolen. Second, Grady didn't have one that would want to harm him, to my knowledge. However, third and lastly, at the scene of the crime, which I regret to this day for going to, there was a symbol drawn in blood. A staff, which at first I thought was a cane, but after further research, it was a staff. A shepherd's staff. The symbol for the shepherds. The shepherds were a rumored cult in the late 60s who followed no other than Josiah. They had allegedly murdered up to 10 people over the course of 4 years. I say allegedly because the department never truly connected the cases, but we knew. This pissed me off to think that Grady may have been murdered because of some bullshit legend, and it pissed me off even more that no one had been caught. This is what made me join the force. I guess I wanted justice, and joining the force felt like the right thing to do. A year later is when tragedy had happened to my parents. Same case as Grady. No motive, just murder. and the same symbol was drawn on the wall. I apologize for being vague. I don't like talking or even writing about these events. It sends me through a world of sadness to think about all of it. Following the events of my parents' death, I slowly started to go mad about finding the culprit. I would blow off my shift and go to my parents' old house, hoping that whoever had killed them returned to the scene of the crime, so I could put 2 slugs in their chest. After 6 months of this, I lost my job. I didn't blame them. I guess I wasn't cut out to be a cop. Soon I started a job as a truck driver, driving all around the country. I enjoyed not staying in one place. In my experience, that can get you killed. But after my route was finished, I always came back home to Iowa. 10 years later, and here I am, at my parents' old home, writing this in my car, staring at my folks' old home. Why am I writing this, you ask? Well, because when I'm not driving around the 12 hours a day, I'm also a writer. Sort of. I enjoy putting my thoughts and experiences on paper. And why do I plan on burning down the house? Well, I don't know who, but someone thought it would be a good idea to put this house on the market. And I don't want anyone else living here. It'd survive 3 generations, and it would end at that. It's not like anyone will buy it, or miss it. So tonight is the night I leave this place behind me, and get rid of it for the rest of time. After I polish off this last bit of whiskey, this place will light up this Halloween night. Almost poetic, isn't it? Good thing I don't have to count on trick-or-treaters. Scratch what I said about trick-or-treaters. I see some walking up to the house now. No bags, though. That was the last of the journal. I have just as many questions as you. What's so special about that house, besides the seclusion? Is Harry alive? Is the shepherd cult still around? I'm still digging. I'll update more later.